Dzień dobry Państwu. Proszę Państwa, dzisiaj zapraszam na rozmowę o Polsce, na rozmowę z Fernando da Silva, który urodził się w Toronto, od 3 lat mieszka w Warszawie i jest zakochany w naszym kraju. Dlaczego? Proszę posłuchać.
Thank you so much for agreeing for the interview, because
it's my pleasure.
I know that you have your girlfriend has a Polish background. Is it right?
Yeah, she's Polish. She was born in Warsaw.
Oh, and where? Excuse me, the question was where you were born.
I was born in Toronto in 1963.
Oh, so you were born in Toronto. You're a native Torontonian, and you live in Warsaw. So how that happened?
Okay, so this is what happened. Basically, my whole life I lived there in Toronto, and my background is Portuguese. My parents are from Portugal, and my father came to Canada in 1953. He was 19 years old. So he lived here for a couple of years. Then in 1962, he went back to Portugal, and he found a girlfriend. He married my mom, and then he brought my mom to Canada, and I was born in 63. I was married to a Portuguese girl for about, for about 25 years, and then things didn't work out, and then I ended up meeting Grace. And it's been great. I met Grace in 2002, so I've been with her ever since, and it's been wonderful because Portuguese, as much as I've been raised in Toronto, but I had a Portuguese influence because where I was raised was a lot of Portuguese. So my parents raised me.
Have you ever visited Portugal? Did you go to Portugal for vacation or?
Yes, me and Grace have been to Portugal a few times, and she loves it.
Mm-hmm. Before going to Europe, did you, while living in Toronto, did you visit Portugal?
Yes, I did. I was there when I was 10 years old. I was in 1973.
Did you like it better than Canada, or was it?
Well, see, when I went to Portugal in 1973, it was still under. As a matter of fact, it changed that same year. But apparently, until 1973, Portugal was under a dictatorship.
There was this revolution of the flowers, or what?
Exactly. So when I went there, it was just before the revolution. So when I went there, it was actually, believe it or not, I hate to say this, it was not up to date. The country was still backwards.
Okay.
To a certain extent.
Right.
But as far as the culture, the food, the climate was extraordinary. I loved it.
Yeah. So, what made you to decide to go to Europe to move there
what happened was
to Poland? Because we live here. I mean, I'm a part of this wave of immigrants who came here after the martial law in Poland in the 80s. There were other waves of Polish immigrants, as you probably know, because. The Italian community, the Portuguese community, the Polish community, we are the immigrant nations.
Right.
And
what happened was in 2002 when I started seeing Grace, we dated, but about 4 years ago, her daughter got married. She had her own house. And then we decided, we traveled, we went to Portugal, we went to Lisbon, we went to Algarve, we went to various vacations. And then finally she says to me, listen, Fernando, I really would love you to go to Poland to visit my mom, which is still alive. She's 88 years old. And I says, okay, let's do it. So 3 years ago, I decided to go with her to Poland. But being raised in Toronto, I had a very, very, I wouldn't say negative. I had a different idea of what I thought was Poland. I thought it was very cold. I thought they were like, I didn't think they were very, very.
So those are the stereotypes in what your generation or the people living in Canada, living in Toronto, have about Poland. That it's cold, it's remote, and it's not, as you use this phrase, to Portugal, up to date, right?
Exactly, and that's exactly how I thought. That I already had this preposition of what I was to expect in Poland. So when we arrived in Warsaw Chopin Airport, we got off, and I couldn't believe it. We started driving. We went to her mom's apartment, and as we're driving, it's about 20-minute drive. I could not believe the amount of buildings, the roads, how clean it was, that people were friendly. Everybody said "Dzień dobry." I mean, it immediately gave me the sense of respect. That's the first thing I caught, is that they respect each other. Even young children, the minute you make eye contact, they say "Dzień dobry." They immediately address you, sir. I was very, very impressed. That was my first impression. Respect was right in your face. So yeah.
So people respect each other.
Absolutely. I found the kids, teenagers, young boys, young little girls. They meet you in the street. You're walking by. They immediately address you. Good afternoon, sir. Good evening. You go in the elevator. As you leave the elevator, they say good night. That's something not common in Canada, because everybody in Canada, and especially in a big city like Toronto, everybody minds their own business. But here in Poland, they're very, very respectful.
Don't you think that here in Canada we just lost it? That it used to be like that. That is the old-fashioned upbringing, and now it's different. Simply,
I caught that until I was about. I caught that respect until I was about 15, 17 years old. When late 80s, 90s, it all started changing.
Yeah.
Now, I can tell you when it started changing. It started changing is when the Canadian government, again, not sounding racist, far from it. I'm not a racist man. But they started changing the immigration laws. They started bringing people from other parts of the world. The Europeans weren't coming no more. It was more like South Asians, a lot of South Asians, a lot of people from the airport. That's when I started seeing the change in Canada. I mean, big change. And
on the other, the South Asians or the Chinese, they respect each other too. They have these.
The Chinese respect each other.
But maybe this immigration, though, was too. The pace was. It was done suddenly. It was done on a very fast pace, and that's the reason why people lost this. Well,
another thing too. That
commitment to each other.
Yeah, one of the things I think why the people in Toronto, especially in Ontario, why I think that the respect levels were controlled is because when they came from Europe, they usually went to the same areas. They went to Roncesvalles, they went to Dundas and Bathurst, Portuguese. They basically stayed within their communities. In the 90s, that didn't happen. They started spreading all over the place, so they didn't connect.
That's very.
And that's probably what happened. And everybody became busy, and there was that family unit started disappearing.
Right. Right. So, okay. So it was your first impression, your first visit to Poland, and what happened then?
So that was the impression. So the impression immediately was the respect of the people. The roads were clean. The drivers, taxi drivers, are crazy. They drive too fast. They have no respect. I've noticed that they don't have police monitoring the roads. So it's like everybody fights for themselves for a space in the road. That was the second impression. And what I found is that there was a lot of bakeries. Every corner has a Polish bakery. So I was very eager to sit. I told to my girlfriend, Grażyna, I says, listen, I have to try these bakeries. And the third impression is the amount of bread they make here in Poland. It is absolutely delicious. Various kinds. That got my attention, the bread. And then we went to restaurants. The food is extraordinary. Not only is that they have traditional food, but they also very quickly, in the last 35 years, is that they also adapted to the Western society cuisine, which I find very, very interesting. And when you go to restaurants, a lot of these young generations, they speak English. They speak English. That got my attention. The streets are very well organized. The system is organized. I found I just
You're talking about Warsaw now, right?
Warsaw. Yes,
you live in Warsaw.
And then and like I said, we would go around, and we noticed something. That one thing that got my attention is that when we were walking certain streets, you'd go to certain areas. Now you have to forgive me, I can't pronounce the names, but there's the west side and the east side of Poland, of Warsaw, where it got hit the most during the war. And there's certain buildings are still up. They have bullet holes.
Yeah.
And they have areas where they have plaques where soldiers died. Very patriotic, flowers. And then another thing that I found, and I'm going to give you go really fast when I tell you this. The thing that got me the most, it just blew me away, is when she took me to visit her father, who passed away 12 years ago. I could not believe how beautiful, how respectful, how well maintained the cemeteries are. Oh my God, marble cemeteries, beautiful plaques. I mean, absolutely beautiful. We went last year to All Saints Day, November the 1st. I couldn't believe the amount of people. Beautiful. In Canada, in Ontario, yes, there's beautiful plaques, but you walk over the graves. In Poland, you don't walk over the graves. They have these beautiful marble plaques.
Out of the respect for the dead.
Yes, it's just they respected that so much. I found that beautiful. So yeah, so those things started getting my attention. The people, the food, you go to the stores, the amount of alcohol. You go to the store, you can go to the gas station, you can buy beer, you can buy alcohol, you can buy wine. 24/7 kiosks to buy alcohol. Where have you heard in Ontario you can walk into a store 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, alcohol you can buy? That got my attention. And the food is extraordinary. Now,
so you were in love with Poland, right? It was a love on the first time.
I fell in love with Poland, and then we met some people, and then I started listening to them, and they were so respectful. They were very, very accommodating towards me, her family, and we started talking about the history of Poland, the struggles of Poland, the wars of Poland, and what I find about the Polish people, they're very patriotic. Very patriotic. I think there's a generation of Polacks in Canada have been there more than 30 years. They've lost that a little bit. But there's still a lot of them still believe mother home, motherland is still Poland. Because Polish people are very, very patriotic.
And you think it's good?
I think it's fantastic. And I've learned a lot because of Grace, Regina. She showed me a lot of movies of what Poland's gone through the centuries. And what I've noticed about the Polish people, they're survivors. They've gone through wars. The Germans, the Russians, the Turks. I seen those beautiful horses. They had, when those soldiers had those big wings in the back of the.
Hussars.
I seen the movies, and I'm getting goosebumps. The history of Poland and the struggles they went through, and today they're still here. They're still alive. The culture hasn't died, and it will never die. They're a beautiful culture. I love them.
Well, thank you very much for that opinion, because I'm Polish, and I think that this culture and the Polish nation is still being attacked because we live in a global world, and for some people it's the sign of the past. You are not supposed to be patriotic anymore. In that way, the Polish people are. You are supposed to be more like a citizen of the world, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But we still think that it's a good thing to cherish your past and patriotism. It's nothing. It has nothing to do with nationalism. It has nothing to do with fascism, as is very, very often called. And so it's so interesting to me to hear what you're saying about Poland. And still going back to your history, you fell in love with Poland. And when did you decide to move there from Canada?
Okay, I'll tell you. So this is what happened. So 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, we went for our first trip to Poland. And I was here for 3 weeks. And I fell in love with it. And Grace turns around and says, "Are you serious? Do you really love Poland that much?" I go, "I love it. I absolutely love it." So during that trip, I worked for the TTC. I was a TTC operator for 32 years. So I just retired. So I was retired. And I was no longer married to my ex-wife. So, and I turned around and says, "Grace, you know what, Grace? I would love to move. I think I'm done with Canada. I don't like what's happening. I don't like the changes. I'm retired. And I can live anywhere I want. I can live in Portugal. I can live in Poland. But I would love to give Poland a try." And she looked at me like she was puzzled. She was puzzled because, "But you got family here. I got a daughter here. And you want to make this change?" I go, "Yes, I really do. Because I really believe that Poland is on the way up. Poland's not on the way down." And I told her, when we were there, I seen crane after crane after crane, development after development. I think Poland is going to be a powerhouse in Europe. And I think what's happening in Europe and Poland, they're coming out of that regime, and the new generation are more westernized. Companies are investing into Poland. Beautiful apartment buildings are being built. And you know what? It's a great opportunity to be part of that. And I think what's happening here in Ontario is I'm not happy the way things are turning. I think we're young enough that we can do this for a couple of years. So she turned around, she says to me, "Are you serious?" I go, I'm very serious." So she turned around and she shocked me. She shocked me. She turns to me, "You know what, now? We're going to sell the house and we're going to move to Poland." Her daughter, who was married with a child, thought, "There's no way in hell my mom's going to leave me and my daughter and my husband and move to Poland." And I told her daughter, Victoria, I says, "Victoria, we're moving because we really like it there." "Oh, you guys are going to be back." Well, it's been almost 3 years, and we absolutely love it here. We love it. We've been going back every summer. And I'll tell you something. We've gone back 3 times since we've got back here. We go to the bazaars. We get our vegetables, fresh vegetables from the local markets. When we went back after for the 3 years ago, after we moved here, we went to Longo's. We went to Loblaws. We were disappointed. We immediately found the vegetable quality was poor. The people were touching everything. People are not polite in the stores. People are touching apples, touching grapes, touching bananas. Stores are not as clean as here in Poland. Poland here, you go to the store, everybody respects each other. The vegetables are fresh. There's a respect level. And it gave us this sense of feeling like, I think we make the right decision. Because what we found is that we went to Walmart. The store in Walmart clothes all over the place. Cashiers are not friendly. Shelves are messy. We go to the mall here in Poland. The girls are cleaning the store. Everything's put away nicely. The shelves are organized. It's like we are amazed. And for years and years and years living there, we got used to it. That's how it is in Canada. That's how it is in Ontario. I recommend anybody who lives in Ontario to go for a week to Poland and go to the shopping malls, and see how the people dress and how they behave and how they conduct themselves. They'll be shocked. Because you make eye contact with somebody on the mall, immediately they say Dzień dobry, they say good evening, good night, immediately. You walk into a mall in Square One or anywhere, you make eye contact, it's like you're a stranger from the past. There's no contact. Stores are disorganized. The cleanliness is obvious. That's one of the things we noticed. Obviously, there's a lot of people in Ontario, but that's the first thing we fell in love with. here in Poland, is that tremendous difference.
So it struck you when you came back here to
Oh my
Toronto.
God! It was like night and day. Once you come here and you go to the bazaars, you go to the shopping mall, you go to the pharmacy, you go to the doctor, and then when you go to Ontario and you go to the Walmarts, you go to the Longos, you go to the Square One, and you go to the parking lots, and you see the way people operate, you know right away, my God, this is not Europe. Europe is much better. I'm sorry, Europe is much better. No, there's room for improvement. But once you come to Europe and you go back to North America, it's like night and day.
Okay, so obvious question: what do you dislike about Poland?
Okay, I knew you were going to come to that. Okay. 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 Now, like I said, there's the good and the bad and the ugly. Now, the bad is not really bad. It's a matter of condition yourself. There's a lot of bureaucratic process here. It's the same thing in Portugal. It's a European style. Like if you want to get a form, if you want to get a car, if you want to get some kind of document from the government,
Is it complicated?
It's not so much complicated. See, I have an advantage because it would be a nightmare for me if I was by myself. But Grace speaks Polish, so she.
You don't speak Polish, right? And is it a big obstacle for the everyday?
It's an obstacle it's an obstacle for me if I'm dealing with old people. But if I'm dealing with the young people, they speak English. So and I think within the next 5-6 years, you're going to see that's no longer going to be a problem. But that's what I find is the hard part is the bureaucratic process. There's a lot of red tape to get something done. You got to go through a lot of different procedures. Where in Ontario, I'll give Ontario credit, they shortcut things. Where here in Poland, there's no shortcuts. You have to go through the process. Like going to the store, if you know how you go to the store and return something, to return something in Poland, it can become a challenge. Because they immediately ask you, why are you returning it?
So you are a retired person. So what do you do? How your day looks like?
Okay, my day is actually very interesting. So I get up around my past job. I used to get up very early, so I can get up around 5:30, 6 o'clock. I make myself a cup of coffee. I put on the TV. I watch my international news. Then she gets up, and then we have breakfast. Usually we have a Polish breakfast because I'm getting used to that. Eggs and some cold cuts. And then we go for a walk. We go for a walk downstairs. We live in an apartment. We go for a walk. And then we go to the bazaar. We shop. In Canada, one of the things in Ontario or in Canada, the fridges are bigger. So people shop for the week. You go to the supermarket, you buy in bulk. You go to Costco, you buy in bulk. You bring it home, you put it in the freezer, you put it in the fridge, and you live off that for a week or two. Here in Poland, we shop every 2 days. We get our fresh vegetables. Why buy 10 tomatoes when you could buy 2 or 3 and go to the next day?
Do you drive to your store, or do you just?
I bought a car here. And it's a beautiful car. It's got a nice Toyota. So we drive, and everything is local. So we go to the bazaar, we go to the supermarket, and we go to we drive around the city. We go to restaurants, we go to museums, check out the history of Poland, and believe it or not, I'll tell you something. By the time you go shopping, go to the bazaar, go to the big store, get a few things, bring it home, bring it upstairs, put everything away, have supper. Before you know it's already time to have dinner, and then you watch a TV show, and the next day you start over again. So basically, it's that process. I don't have the burden to go to work because I'm retired.
But do you have a circle of friends? You don't speak Polish, so how is it with the socializing?
Well, her mom is 88, so we go visit her mom, and Grace. Fortunate for her, she has a friend that actually also moved from here to Poland from Montreal.
Is there a community of expats, like people who know each other, people who used to live in the USA or Canada?
Yes, there's a Grace. Like I said, I don't get involved with Grace, but what Grace found out is that if you go on Facebook, you do connect. She has a friend here who lived with her when they were kids. They went to school together. So she moved when she was when she was 20 to Montreal with her husband, raised a family, and then she decided she did the same thing that Grace did. She decided to leave Montreal. Her name is Ivana. She decided to leave Montreal, sold her house, and she moved over here. And she speaks French, and she moved over here. She lives in the same building as her grandmother, Grace's grandmother. So that's Grace's contact. So we get together. We exchange dinners. We go to their house. They come to our house. We go to certain functions together. Grace has got some cousins here. We've been to Krakow, which is a beautiful city. So yeah, and we're making friends. So so every week goes by, we interact with other people, and we're making friends, and it's becoming a circle of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, this is all being done without me speaking a word of Polish.
Well, that's amazing. That's amazing, actually. So thank you so much, and all the best. And say hello to your girlfriend. And well, I'm so happy that I was able to meet you and hear your opinions, because it means much. It's a very interesting thing, and I think it's bad for Canada that there are many European immigrants, even second or third generation, people going back to the homelands of their parents, grandparents. This happens in the Polish community. This happens in the Italian community.
Yes.
This happens in the Croatian community.
Yes.
I just read in an article in the Croatian weekly magazine that there is a huge wave of Croatians going back to Croatia because of similar reasons, like Canada is not as it used to be, on a social level.
Absolutely. And I'll just say this just for your information. This is also happening in the Portuguese community. There's a lot of Portuguese that have been very successful, raised second generation, third generation Portuguese, like people like my father. That generation and my generation, a lot of them are starting to see the writing on the wall. A lot of them are going back to Portugal. It's becoming a phenomenon. There's a lot of people are making those choices.
And it's very interesting too, because people like myself, I was brought up in a communist Poland. I know communism, and I know what is it about on a social level too. And I see the traces of the communists here in Canada. The same mindset, the same thinking about social life, and that's very sad and dangerous, because I'm thinking,
absolutely. And I tell you something, you've been very polite, but you've asked me very good questions. But I will end with this, and you can take it for what it's worth. And I'm not going to be offensive, because I know this is being recorded. But I will give you one thought. It's called political opinion. I don't care if you're left or right, center, but what's happening in North America, okay? And I guess, again, I'm not saying that I'm left, I'm not saying that I'm right, but what's happening in North America right now, people have to start waking up. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. This is very, very serious. What's happening with these vaccinations, these mandates, these rules? What happened to society? I am afraid. Every night with me and Grace, we haven't taken the vaccination. It's a choice we've taken. We are so confused. I am losing faith in the community of the newspaper reporting. It's getting dangerous. People are going, and I keep telling Grace, stop reading that. Stop going on YouTube. Because not only is it you're getting wrong information, there's also people are taking advantage of the good information. They're going on YouTube. Look at me. I'm going to violate this particular situation. I'm going to violate this, and I'm going to violate this. And sometimes people say they're looking for that golden bullet, that golden answer. People are losing control of the reality. It's scary, and it's not getting better. What's happening in the United States, that's not a government. That president is not a president. It's an embarrassment. Poland, look what's happening with Ukraine. Look what's happening with Russia and China. They're looking at this man who's the president of the United States. They think he's a clown, and everybody's been told, don't say that. Don't mention this. People are not allowed to. You're born as a boy or a girl. You're born as a boy. You can change. You can have sex operation. You can do whatever you want. But you were born a girl, a boy.
It's a biological fact.
Now we're being told, no, you cannot talk about this. You can't talk about that. And people like you and me are in trouble.
We would have a wonderful and long discussion, because it's long about political correctness, and it's all about that. We are not teaching at schools critical thinking anymore. People are afraid to say what they think. And this is one of those traces I remember from the communist Poland, that you have double talk and double think.
Yes.
That you talk with your family, with your trusted people, you talk differently, and publicly you don't use the same words, and you use the different language. So, and this is happening right here in Canada before my eyes. So that's why I'm saying that I see the traces. And really, it is going down now. It is going down, because without critical thinking, without education, without people expressing their opinions, we have no democracy. It makes no sense. It goes straight forward to dictatorship.
And it's and you as a Polish citizen who came from the communists, you are seeing the signs of what you left, and people people like you. And many thousands like you are saying, oh, my God, it's happening again.
Exactly.
Because it's happening again.
That's my impression,
Yeah, and it's scary.
It's like a circle of history. I have escaped from one system, and the system I escaped to, the country I escaped to, is becoming the country I escaped from. So
absolutely. It's scary. It's very, very scary. And I tell you, I wish you a lot of luck there, because I've lost faith in the freedom of communication, the freedom of newspaper. What happened to a good, honest journalism? What happened to a good reporter, a good, honest opinion? If you express your opinion, you are told, if you don't do it this way, you're going to be fired. You're going to be fired.
That's right.
What happened to the freedom of expression? Freedom of the press.
Are you going to be charged? Because now
look at what happened to that guy, that priest, that minister from Calgary. What that man went through. Now, that being said, he went through a lot, but now he's taking advantage of his popularity. You can see the signs, because everybody wants their 5 minutes of fame.
Right. Sir, thank you so much. Sure. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.